Hi, my name is Estrella Nouri. As you guys know, I am a top model, a singer, an actress, and I am very passionate about the environment. So today we are talking about water. Why water? Well, we're gonna find out because I am here with the founder of Water on Demand, Eckelberry. How are you?
Estrella, it's such a pleasure being here on such a beautiful day.
It is beautiful, thank you. So I want to know all about your company, Water on Demand, and how you got it started and why you got it started.
Well, you're absolutely right that the why is all important because, you know, we're accustomed to thinking of water as, well, open the tap, water comes out, flush the toilet, water goes away, everything's fine. But in fact, it's not great. Throughout the world, we have terrible problems, 6,000 kids a day dying of water diseases every single day. You know, millions have diarrhea from water. It's not a pleasant thing for these people where they're going through. And this is all because of very poor sanitation. The amazing thing is that we have that problem even in America. You've heard of Flint, Michigan, for example, Jackson, Mississippi, Compton, California. Those are just the tip of the iceberg. There are major problems with water in America and even worse elsewhere. What we really are interested in doing is how can we do something highly effective that also helps the planet and returns a profit to investors, because it's all good to invest in charity water and water.org, wonderful thing, but we think we can do even better through this specific thing we're going to talk about and return a profit to investors.
I love that. So what made you go, okay, I'm going to start Water on Demand?
First of all, set some background here, which is that I came out of high tech, which is all about disruption. We saw how Uber disrupted the taxi industry, Airbnb disrupted hotels. Well, who's going to disrupt water and why? Water is this big, slow-moving giant that is not really doing its job. And there's a lot we can discuss about that. But the short story is that it needs disrupting right now.
Well, what inspired you to want to disrupt and be part of the water change?
You know, I could make another software program and it'd be great. But water is life, right? And what we've learned over time is that water industry is going through major change right now. It turns out that 90% of all water usage is by industry and agriculture. They are overloading, overwhelming the system so that individuals who are only the 10% are getting the short end of the stick. And we're even being blamed for drought.
Right.
Okay, you know, we can take shorter showers, but maybe the 90%ers could do more. We focus on that.
You focus on the 90%?
Absolutely.
Which is business and?
Industrial and agricultural users.
Got it.
Now, what's happening with them is that it's turning to a better and better thing for them to do their own cleanup. They make the water dirty. Instead of sending it to the city and overwhelming the city, let them just treat their own water. What's great about that is they can use it again and again, which means that their costs go down. So they're happy to do it themselves. Now, why haven't it done it already? Number one, we needed more compact systems that would fit in a business. And we've done that. In 2018, my company, OriginClear, which has been a public company for some time, built this business that creates these water systems in a box, we call it. Modular Water Systems is the brand, and it's doing fantastically. But there was still a problem, because what we found out, especially during COVID, when everything was going nuts, is that businesses needed help with money. If you're asking a brewery to invest in wastewater systems, they're like, I'm sorry, I'm funded to make beer. Where am I going to find $1 million to clean the water? I thought that was the city's job. So we realized that the way to really accelerate this is to make it a no-brainer. Oh, let's say, Ms. Nouri, you are a brewer.
Okay.
You have a wonderful brewery. I love your ale, by the way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great, I'm doing my job right.
Exactly. Now you've got this big problem where the city won't take your water. They're making you truck it to the next county, and it's very expensive. And you'd like to also, all that water you're using, use it again to wash down your vats and so forth.
Yeah.
That's all great. And we come along, we say, okay, sign here, and you don't have to pay for the machine we're going to put in, and just pay by the gallon, as you always did with the city. You just keep doing it with us. We call it Water on Demand. It is basically water as a service.
How would someone like me get involved with Water on Demand?
Okay, you have a choice. You can get involved with OriginClear as a high-end investor, and that's very nice. But I think what's better is to get directly involved in water on demand as an everyday investor.
Okay.
The minimum is only $1,000. It's early. Water is a stable commodity. Water doesn't go through ups and downs. It's early in water on demand's life, so your opportunity is the greatest.
When you say that, what do you mean?
We launched water on demand in late 2021. So it was just the beginning of it. Now it's gotten more and more capital. We're starting to get our first pilot projects, and we're also starting to do some acquisitions, buying other companies. So this is the time when it's all coming together to invest a small amount of money, nothing that'll hurt you, and have potentially an excellent return. And by doing it now versus later, you'll have helped us at a critical time when we have to build the systems, we have to accumulate the capital to pay for these systems, and also acquire the companies to make our job more effective.
Got it. So just so I have an understanding, these systems go into the businesses that take their water, and as they use it, it recycles it. Right. So it doesn't just go into the ocean and become a waste.
Bingo.
It actually starts recycling and they can keep using it. So not only does that help our planet, but if someone gets in early and invests in the system, it helps them as well.
Well, think about Apple in 1984. When the Mac came along, and it was a complete change from those little green screens with a little dotted line, dot, 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 dot. No, it was graphical. And the world fell in love with it. And people who invested in 1984 in Apple did very well. Same thing with cell phones. Landlines became cell phones. So anytime you have a major shift, it's good to get in. And you should get in to the extent that it's something you can do easily. And also, you want to get in early because what's the problem in the stock market today?
It's crashing.
Why? Because this is these stocks have already gone up.
Liz, what do you mean?
Well, for example, Tesla.
Okay.
Tesla's, it was going up, 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 and now it's going down, 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 right? And why? Because there's been so much investment already. But if you can get into something early.
Like in the beginning.
Exactly.
I see.
Early in the cycle. The time to invest in a market is when all the existing stuff is just crashing down. You go, okay, let's invest in the baby.
Right.
Let's not go with the middle-aged guy. Let's invest in the baby.
Got it.
There's so much life ahead of it.
Right.
So much growth. Now, water has not been an asset that people can invest in. Sure, they can buy bonds, which are basically a kind of a loan, or they can invest in, buy stock in big water companies, but they don't grow very fast. They don't. Why? Because they've been around forever. This is a new thing which solves the whole financing problem for people needing a water treatment system and enables this great new technology to go in. And so potentially thousands, tens of thousands of businesses are going to jump on the bandwagon, use that, and we're going to expand our network. And we will have dramatically changed the water industry. And guess what? Others will follow, no question.
Okay. Now, when others follow, does that impact people's investments?
Well, it's always good. For example, Windows followed Mac. Did it hurt Mac? Not really. Apple remained super strong because they kept inventing. You see, we should never be afraid of competition, because if we go first in the market and we innovate, and somebody goes, oh, we'll copy that. Meanwhile, we're innovating the next thing.
Right.
We're always ahead.
Right.
For example, one of our ideas is to create a very standardized world market for water based on each gallon being paid for in this water as a service, right? It's happening in the US, it's happening in Latin America, it's happening in East Asia, South Africa, India, London, everywhere. So we will have, eventually, our plan is to have water on demand centers through partnerships that do the same thing we're doing here, but elsewhere. So we'll continue to expand, and then we'll knit it all together into a market that is standardized for water as an asset.
And water hasn't been an asset before.
Right, because it's been governmental. Yeah, you can buy water rights. It's a very small market, but the actual business of treating water is not very open. And it shows in the stats. Do you know that it's $1 trillion industry, water treatment in the world. But it only treats 20% of the dirty water. The remaining 80% is thrown away, dirty.
Wow.
England, they only have 14% of the rivers in England are clean. It's a scandal.
Now, in Israel, 90% of the water is recycled. But in America, it's not the same.
It is not the same at all.
Why is that?
Well, okay, you have to recognize that the older an infrastructure is, you kind of fall behind. Look at what happened with America going to cell phones and Africa going to cell phones. Well, Africa went straight from nothing to cell phones. They didn't do landlines at all. They didn't string wires everywhere. They just had towers. So we were actually delayed in our rollout of cell phones in America because we already had landlines for the longest time. Similar thing with energy. Energy, we have a whole structure that's very old, and it's getting in our way. Water is the same way. The water industry, which is governmental mostly, takes your dirty water, cleans it once, throws it in the ocean, which means no recycling. Whereas Israel invested later, they have a more modern water system, and so it's got the recycling built in. Also, they live in a desert, and they recognize that they probably should have more efficiency. And we need to start thinking the same way. How come we're in a desert here, we're only doing 1% recycling?
Right.
It's crazy.
And the rest of it is just going into the ocean?
Right, or into the groundwater, right? So it's either being injected into what's called the aquifer, which means the groundwater, or rivers, the ocean. In many countries, it's thrown away dirty. In America, we do a better job, but still we have a lot of dirty water being dumped, let me tell you.
Okay.
It's not a pretty picture.
Right.
So we have to do a better job. And the other thing is we need justice for everyday people. I like to say, it's a bit corny, but free the water. I like to say that.
I love it.
Well, because we're being told you got to take shorter showers, and I know it's life is hell for you.
You see this hair?
Exactly.
It can be. I need those showers.
So unless you want to be rough and tough, you want those showers.
Right.
And what we're not being told is that people only use 10% of the water. Industry and agriculture uses 90%. Why don't we go after the 90%, make them recycle?
I absolutely agree. And water on demand is that solution.
Exactly.
So when people invest in water on demand, not only are they improving their portfolio, but they're also helping the planet, right?
Isn't that the beauty of it? Which is too many people don't have enough savings. It's a sad fact that so many people are still today in their 50s and 60s, and they are living paycheck to paycheck. And we all know that you start investing early in your life, if possible. So everyone should invest. Try to invest in something that's early enough that it's got potential. It's got potential for multiples, as opposed to just going up a little bit, like it could go hockey stick, right?
Right.
Now, nobody's guaranteeing that stuff. Nobody guarantees stocks. But if you do your homework and you say, okay, good concept, big need, really helps the planet, and it's early on in the investing cycle.
What about people that are skeptical or, they're just scared because the market is crashing? I know you said that it is in an early phase, so that is the time to invest. But to the people that are not sure, what would you tell them?
What we like people to do is start small. We've learned that people who invest in our company, OriginClear or its new startup, Water on Demand, either one, they tend to reinvest. Why? Because they have a good experience. They see that things work out okay, that we're very responsive. Every Thursday evening, I do a briefing on Zoom. We're up to 190 so far, weekly briefings on Zoom. So we're very transparent. We tell it all. And so you hear a lot, you get a lot of updates. We tell you what's going on, and you tend to reinvest. So my feeling is the minimum is $1,000.
Okay.
The maximum is 10% of your annual income. So if you're making $100,000 a year, $10,000.
Why should people invest in water on demand?
Because right now is when we're building this capability. This is a new concept that has gotten tremendous support from higher end investors. Amazing. I can't believe how great these people are. They've been true loyalists to the nth degree. But now as we expand, we don't want to get a bunch more high end investors. We want to get a lot of small investors. It's healthier. For example, political campaigns that use a lot of small donations do better than the ones that use a few, billionaires. because it's more of a movement. We want to create a movement. So number one, it has that capability of creating a movement. Number two, now is when we're building these pilot systems. And when we build the pilot systems, we get recognition from Wall Street to raise money from investment banks. We can do that too. But we need to have those working systems. And now is when we're doing it. Also, we want to start making acquisitions, acquiring other companies to make our job easier. And we want to build the team that is going to manage all that. But it's a lot to do. It's better to have 1,000 people with a small amount than 100 people with a large amount. It's just healthier.
So tell me about you.
Well, thank you. But, you know, I have this unique mix of really eclectic background that I think it really helps me today to tackle this monster challenge, which is this water industry. You know, I was raised internationally, so I have no home, which is kind of cool in that way. I think of myself more as a world person. Then I went on to be in the nonprofit space, which means I got paid nothing for working like crazy. But that gave me this sense of like, I want to save the planet in some way, right? Then I got involved in high tech, which I loved. It was so fast moving. And to this day, I have this disruptive feeling about how you can really change anything with technology, right? And throughout it all, it's been about water. I've been a professional sailor. I'm an addict for skiing, and we are going to have to get on the slopes. You know it. You know it.
I would love to.
Right?
I would love to. Yes, absolutely.
So water is just my playground. And it's high time that we actually do something about our playgrounds, make sure we have them in years to come. My son is turning 25. He's skied all his life with me, and I want him to be able to keep doing it, both for climate change, but also for the clean water.
So you have created an opportunity for people to be a part of the movement.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, how do you feel?
Our investors are so cool, and they're so supportive. And we recently did an acquisition. We came up with the money in like less than 3 weeks.
Wow.
My gosh.
I needed to hear all this and sit down with you, and I'm hoping that it does help my followers out there as well, because sometimes you just don't know what to do with your money. You know, you work hard, you want to make the right investments, and you want to make it in a place where you feel safe and it makes sense. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of the movement, the change, and the investment opportunity.
And remember, water benefits us all.
I mean, I'm sold. I've been sold. This has been so informative. I hope it not only changes the planet, but also changes people's lives.
This really, for me, drives a mission that I've been doing for several years, where we can really make change happen in a completely new asset, which is water. How cool is that?
I love it. Thank you for building that opportunity, allowing people to be a part of the movement, as well as myself. It's been very, very informative, and I just really appreciate this. So thank you.
Well, my pleasure, because you've made it common sense to people, and we can't be too geeky. And I love it that you've made it accessible. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.